I lived in Mesa, Arizona when I was 10 years old. We lived in a rough area, but I was just a kid completely ignorant to the dangers of the world. I was walking back home from my friend's house and my mother wanted me home by 9 and I'd always start walking back at around 8:40 to make sure I wasn't late. And it's only like a couple of blocks from my house, so it wasn't a super long distance. It was around the time of year when the sun would set at 5:30 and be dark well before 7 p.m., so it was very much night time. As I'm walking, I hear a woman calling my name.
Hello.
I turn to look and see it was one of my mom's friends. She didn't know her too well. However, I just saw that she was familiar and won't say a name, but I turned around and said hello and smiled. She walked up to me and told me my mom had called her and asked her to come get me and ride me back because something happened at my house. She said that it was an emergency and that I needed to go with her and her husband, whom my family was also familiar with. I was only about 5 minutes from my house, but I was told it was an emergency, so I agreed to go with her. As I'm walking, I get this weird feeling in my gut and this shaking in my legs that I now today realise was my instincts being on high alert. I stopped for a minute and asked if we could call my mom, and she said my mother was in the hospital right now and that I needed to hurry. Right as we were opening the door to the car, I hear my mother shout my name as loud as she can, and I turned on a dime and quickly walked towards my mom. My mom asked what was going on, and the woman replied and said that she was just giving me a ride home because she saw me. This was not the story she gave me, so I told my mother what she had told me and asked what was going on. My mom just looked at me, and she could always tell when I was lying versus when I was telling the truth. The woman then goes to interrupt me, likely to lie, and my mom cuts her off and just stared back at her with the most shocked look ever, and these words that still send shivers down my spine today. She says, "You were trying to take my son." And the husband looks out the window, hurrying his wife in the car, and I looked back towards him, and I can see a syringe on the dashboard leaning against the windshield that he grabs right as I see it. She gets in the car because at that point my mom was ready to kill her and reached into her purse because my mom kept a pocket knife. But they drove away, and right after they did, my mom looked at me and just burst into tears, saying, "I almost lost you." My mom knew full well what was happening, and I was still too shaken to even say anything and just hugged her back and we went home. I was still in denial, and to cope, I would convince myself that maybe I wasn't in any danger. My family, of course, never kept in contact with any of them, but my stepdad at the time submitted a tip to the police of the incident. When they caught up with him about 3 months later, we had found out that he was arrested for having CP on his computer and found restraints in his closet, as well as some containers of propofol. They found pictures of me from my mom's Facebook downloaded on his computer as well, leading them to believe that I was actually being watched for a good bit. I never liked talking about it because to this day, if I hadn't stopped for those 10 seconds to ask the woman to call my mom, I don't know where I'd be, or if I'd even be alive right now writing this comment.